I was at Goodwill a couple of days ago looking at Halloween stuff. Found a few spooky items I wanted to take home with me. And on my way to the checkout, I just kind of casually glanced down the electronics aisle and saw the chrome guard of this fan protruding from the bottom shelf. And so I pivoted 180 and launched myself towards the electronics aisle. And there's a little old lady standing directly in front of the fan. Picture the Queen of England like 5 years ago, and that's who it was. And I waited a minute, and she was still standing there looking at stuff. And in my mind, I'm thinking, lady, if you don't move, I'm gonna move you. But what came out of my mouth was, ma'am, hope I'm not a bother, but I would like to grab this fan right down here if it's not too much trouble. And she says, oh, of course. And she stepped off to the side enough so I could grab the fan, and then she had to lecture me about the fan. She said, you know, you really should have them plug it in and make sure it works, just to test it. She started looking at the fan, and she said that. She pointed at it and said, that's an older one. I've seen those. That's an older one. You should really, when you get it up there, have them plug it in and test it to make sure it works. And I'm thinking, I don't care if it works. I'm buying it. I don't think she knew she was dealing with a total fan freak, but I just try to be extra nice to the senior citizens, even when my patience is non-existent, because they know a lot more than you do, and a lot of their friends are dead. So just be nice to them. And she was very nice, and that's good advice. Even though I think they have like a 3-day grace period where you can take it back if it doesn't work, but still, I've been burned on that a couple of times, not testing stuff out before I bought it. Anyway, this is another oddball fan, total oddball. It's a Tozai. What does it look like to you? Some of you guys have watched my videos before or have experience with these fans that look just like this one. So it's a Tozai Deluxe 16-inch 3-speed oscillating fan. But if you're familiar at all, you would say that this looks nearly identical to the Sears oscillating fans of the early 1980s. Nope, this is a Tozai, which is really weird. I've seen the Tozai fans before that had this base, but they had a different badge. This looks totally like the Sears badge, except this one is all chrome. I think the Sears one has clear plastic slats here. This one is all chrome, so it's pretty neat. It has a chrome guard too. I don't think that the Sears fan really has that chrome finish. It's more of it has more of like a golden colored finish on the Sears fan, or brass, maybe I'm not sure what the color technically is called, but the guard looks different on the Sears fan. So this is model SR-16, draws 0.85 amps, East-West Distributing Company, Deerfield, Illinois. There's a lot of stuff that goes out of Deerfield. Made in Taiwan. Vaguely resembles the Tatung labels, and the bottom, this plastic base, also vaguely resembles the Lasco or the Sears fan. I think it's a Sanyo motor, Sanyo or Lasco. It doesn't look exactly the same as the Sears motor, and it's a different motor housing. I think that's a Sanyo motor housing though. Oddly enough, the motor itself, the casting looks the same, but the other parts of the motor look different from the Sears fan. So it's kind of weird. This is just a total oddity. Total oddity. It looks really nice though. Man, this thing shined up wonderfully. The protective film was still over this. I peeled it off because didn't look very good with that stuff on there. It was coming off anyway. Here is cord. It's got the very thin early 1980s cord. Here's the plug, non-polarized. Get this plugged in. This fan also has a very distinct sound to it that you probably recognize as being a Lasco or a Sanyo fan of the early 1980s. Started on high speed. Medium. Should note too that the Sears fan has acrylic blade. This does not. This has the cheaper, opaque, flexible plastic blade. So, I mean, there are some cheaper elements to this, very subtle, cheaper elements. I don't think that the guard is as good of quality as the Sears fan. I don't think the blade is as good of quality. That might be about it. The motor, if you're familiar with the Lasco fans, the Galaxy fans, or the Sears fans that have this style of badge, and you've been into those motors before, this one even has the rubber, the little rubber gasket that goes on the front of the motor shaft. You've seen those before. This also has that. So it has that. The motor castings are the same, but some of the other components on this are just a little different. So it's definitely odd, but really cool. Low speed, and we'll run the oscillation. Such a good find for $5. Cleaned up in near mint condition. It was dusty and there was some dust in the motor, but after I blew the dust off of it, the windings look good as new. I think it's probably a low hours fan. Seems obvious. Got a really long spin down too. Crazy spin down. We'll get to that here in a second. pretty good. Excellent find. This is probably the best thing I found at Goodwill this year, I would say. Totally awesome fan. Looks great. Performance is fantastic. No pun intended. Great find for $5. Thanks for watching.